Welcome to SciTech Culture with Steve Kern and Ben Warner, where we examine science, technology and culture in the 21st century. Visit our website at scitechculture.com.
Well, who doesn't like a good burger, I say, but, do they make burgers like they used to? I don't know, Steve, but just thought we'd start with this rather amusing topic. Late night comedians have been making fun of it, of course. That's where I first came across it, and obviously I did a bit of research just to read up on it. But this idea that Burger King, that's obviously, where, as it's known to the rest of the world, but we're outliers in Australia, it's known as Hungry Jack's here. Same thing, essentially, is being sued over the size of its Whoppers. Now, apparently it's got to do with how the Whopper is presented itself in, I believe, in ads. And the idea being I don't know if this is an arbitrary figure, that it looks 35% bigger than what you actually get when you rock up to a restaurant and actually order one. I don't know, Steve. Is this like amazing news that it doesn't look like the picture? The old falling down reference.
Well, I always thought Hungry Jack's strong or Burger King's strong point was the fact that it used to look like the photos, and that's what used to make you hungry. Anyone who's over the age of 15 can probably remember those old style Whoppers, because it's only been a trend over the last decade. And the Whopper used to come and the lettuce used to be fresh and the tomato used to be in there, and when you actually picked it up, you crunched down onto the lettuce, onto the patty, and because the burger was loose because it was fresh, there was a good chance you'd spill some mayo on yourself, and that was a real Burger King Hungry Jack's experience. Now, it doesn't look like the photo. The bun's squished down. There's a little bit of meat showing, maybe some dead lettuce. It's awful. This is a very interesting case, Ben, because we've all been thinking it, and this could be the thin edge of the wedge.
Literally. I was also just thinking about the merits of the case, in the sense that they chose to go with this comparison to the TV ad and saying the size was different or whatever.
That's right.
But this seems to be more of a fundamental thing around not getting what is advertised. But obviously that could open up a can of worms, because that could end up applying to so many other, not only fast food restaurants, but I don't know, a lot of products, food products.
Indeed, we know that. But I want to take you back, Ben. I think the reason this case has got legs is because the Whopper used to look like the Whopper in the photo. The Whopper now looks like it's been made by someone else and just sent through. It looks like airline food. Now, we all know that in this industry, when you do photo shoots for food photography, you don't use milk. You use PVA white glue because it's whiter than milk will ever be. You substitute products because they look more effective. I don't know if that comes into this as much, but this could be under threat. So I don't know, what will they do if they actually have to start selling us the food that we think that we're buying from the images they're presenting?
Or they just change the images to be reality. I'm sure that won't work from a marketing perspective.
Ben, I don't think I could eat a Whopper again if that was the case. On the very few occasions when I go and get one now, it's because I have that memory of what a Whopper was. But I am perpetually disappointed every time I pick up that soggy, weak, limp burger. There are other burger places I can go if I want that.
Yeah, the burgers are better elsewhere, to coin a phrase. Absolutely. All right, moving on from that, we've got just more of our main topic, I guess, today is group chats. Now, we've spoken about, impacts of social media before and the way people interact, and that's, I guess, in a more public forum, for lack of a better term. Group chats are, something that have, obviously kicked up behind the scenes as well. I don't know if they get as much coverage, leaving aside, the obvious recent ones with, the use of the Signal app by certain US government representatives and how the fallout happened with that. But, I think all of us in some way, shape or form are using some sort of messaging app, and we're probably in group chats. It can be as simple as a family member group chat, or it could be a friends group chat. It could be colleagues group chat. We've got group chats at work, etc. So the thing that really interested me was just with that social media interaction cap on hand and how that impacts it. I also think that there's obviously having this as a communication channel is amazing, but given humans being what they are and how we interact and how we beneficially interact when we're actually talking to one another in person, I think that's where potentially group chats can also add to the that sort of mental health anxiety issue that if you say something in a group chat, nobody else likes it, they pile on and then you get blocked, and there's a potential for you to sound harsher than what you are, because you're not getting that sort of in-person feedback. When you're looking at someone in the eyes when they're saying it, they could be sarcastic and then someone takes it seriously, and it's just very easy for the whole thing to go off the rails.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, it's right. You point out there's so many different types of group chat. They're the ones with 4 or 5 friends, that are really close, tight knit, and they're really about information sharing. Where are we going to go? What are we going to do? What do you think about this? Hey, look at this. This is funny. So, and it goes right up to on some of the apps, where you can actually follow particular content producers as a group and talk about it. And of course now that's starting to creep into some other apps, businesses like gaming, where they hook you in, not just betting, but talking about how much you're going to win while all of you are losing. And what I find interesting about the group chats though is that there's a lot less I don't know, external interference in the content. I guess the group itself tends to choose that content. Or the group assembles itself because of that content. They have an interest in that content. So that's the key difference. But yeah, there's still all the dangers in there, particularly when you go on the bigger chats, that, if you do make a slip up, if you do present things that you shouldn't present or say things that you shouldn't say, you could be in a world of pain. So it's something to be very mindful of.
And I was almost thinking they're almost like digital exclusive clubs in a way.
But they are. And as I say, the big difference is the content or the reason for being on that is self-driven. It's that particular group with a particular interest deciding that let's get together around that interest. And that tends to be what the topic is.
And I just find it funny because, I don't know, maybe in the past, like if there was a group chat like that, the most that it would, the messages would be, hey, does everyone want to come around on Saturday? Yeah, sure. Okay, that's fine. And that's the end of it. But the idea of having whole conversations in a group chat, obviously that's something that can happen.
But it's because you can add your own content. So you can share a video that you've seen and there's a common interest. So if you're a group of friends, you'll probably have a common interest. But if you've joined a chat because it's about cars, or you've joined a chat because it's about a sport, then you've also got something to talk about in there. And that's what tends to drive the conversations. So it's different to the normal social channels where the algorithms try to drive you towards a conversation and a particular engagement. But there's still the same risks.
Absolutely. All right, Steve, I might wrap it up there. I'll go check my group chats, or maybe I'll just go out and get a Whopper and be perpetually disappointed as we were saying.
Spend your $10 for research, Ben, and you can come back and certainly in a group chat let me know what you think.
Absolutely. Sample a cheeseburger instead, maybe. Absolutely. Alrighty, so that's it for this week's episode. We'll catch you next time.